Hi friends, welcome back. I am DJ Montague, and today we are going through the hardcore shadow build that I've been working on. I think that this build can rival some of the other builds, and I think the Necro gets some unwarranted hate because of theory crafters not going through all of the options that I think Necro truly has available to it, or some misthoughts on what some of the aspects do. Now, this is a little bit of a different format. You can see the build in action over here. This again is on hardcore. We do have a couple rip clips. If you want to see them, come over to Twitch, twitch.tv/DJ Montague. If you want to check out the builds as they are updated live, and I will be adding notes once this hardcore race is over. That's where most of my time has been dedicated right now. But check it out over on D4 Builds. I am verified over there now, so please, please, please go check it out. And the builds will be linked below, and let's get right into it. So first of all, this shadow build is based and has Sever. You can swap Sever out for Blight. This is just for me to have added vulnerability right now. Sever, until you get Greaves of the Empty Tomb, is just for extra vulnerability. Reap is like always a good option just for creating an extra corpse every 5 seconds. If you are going to go the full range route, you can move Decompose into this. Corpse Tendrils, I think, is one of our best skills in the game currently. Corpse Explosion is self-explanatory for the stacking dot damage. And Blood Wave, I love Blood Wave as a skill. Again, with Blood Orbs, I think that this skill, just getting 9 Blood Orbs, if you have an open field, like you can put Blood Orbs into walls and not be able to grab them, so be careful of that. But I think that Blood Wave is so good, and must have is Blood Mist, because it's our only option to get out of jail when you get stunned, when you get rooted, when you're getting pummeled by monsters, when you're knocked on the ground. Blood Mist, get out, don't die, especially in hardcore. You must have. Anyways, Aspect the Embalmer. Corpses have a 30% chance to create Blood Orbs. Again, this is Blood Orb based in this build. For defensive, you can switch out any of the Blood Orb stuff if you really want to. But again, creating Blood Orbs I think is incredibly important to Necromancer and also to this build because of Fast Blood aspect, one of them being Blood Orbs reduce your ultimate cooldown. They're incredibly important. But anyways, 30% chance to create Blood Orbs. Protector. Elites grant you a barrier. This is 33% uptime. So I think that this is an incredibly useful way to get a third portion of defensive. You really can't get barrier very easily as a Necro, but you can get Fortify a lot easier, and we'll show that in a little bit. But you also need other options for defensives because you are just walking everywhere. So I think that this one is like almost a must take if you're looking for a defensive option. The other option being Aspect of Disobedience, or the Dome option where you're no longer healthy and you take damage and you get the Invulnerability Dome for 4 seconds, 5 seconds max, and those are both good options. Let's go back into the damage, where you're getting your damage from. Title Aspect. Blood Wave fires 2 additional waves. These waves stack in dot damage. So when you have Aspect of Ultimate Shadow, which we are also taking in a ring slot, you will get extra damage from each wave and each dot and all of it. It's awesome. It's really, really good stacking damage, and you can cull waves really quickly. Staple that goes into weapon, Blighted Aspect, 240% shadow damage, just increased damage really, but it from your Shadow Blight damage and Shadow Blight passive, stacking 100 times. This aspect I called out as I think it was not great. I'm sorry. It's good. It's good. It's not the most incredible aspect in the world, but it is the basis of what this build is going to be about, is getting 6 seconds of incredibly high damage output. Sacrificial Aspect is what I'm currently using on hardcore in this video over here, but you can use the other blighted Shadow Blight Aspect of Decay, where Shadow Blight starts stacking and then has a really solid uptime. This is really good. I think that this one is more of a take that I would have now instead of Sacrificial Aspect, but I haven't gotten a Shadow Blight in like 10 hours. that I could really use. So I haven't swapped them out. But I think it's solid. So just so you're aware, the other option. And Greaves of the Empty Tomb. Now, I haven't gotten Greaves of the Empty Tomb on hardcore personally, but the lucky hit is incredibly good, adding shadow dot damage, and then also having essence cost reduction. Sever does cost a little, like 20 essence, and it's not a lot, but it can stack up quick because you're attacking pretty fast. The extra dot as well, stacking, you can get probably 2 or 3 severs on a target, and then you're stacking the dots, you're stacking your shadow blight, you're stacking more decay. You're getting more out of the build and just chunking monsters. You'll see probably over here that sometimes I'll get some ticks for 70, 80. I've seen ticks of my Corpse Explosion for 140,000, and that's at level 70. So like it's really good. It's pretty solid. But let's get into the let's get into the Skeletal Warrior sacrifice. You're taking the shadow damage from Reapers. You're taking the vulnerability damage, again, like I say, buckets. Sacrificing for vulnerability damage here. Attack speed, if you are using a scythe, I think attack speed is almost necessary, but I think that if you're playing hardcore, the best option is defensive, because if you're dead, you're not doing damage and you have to restart, and that sucks. Sacrificing here for HP, also increasing your fortify, which here we're gonna go to skill tree first. Sorry. Reap. So 3 points in Reap, 6 points in Sever. Hewed Flesh must take 1 point in Blood Mist, must take 7 points in Corpse Explosion, 3 points in Grim Harvest, 3 points in Fueled by Death, 3 points in Death's Embrace, 3 points in Gruesome Mending. I think this skill's pretty underrated. Reaper's Pursuit, Gloom, and Terror all maxed. Crippling Darkness at 2. More points in Corpse Tendrils, because Corpse Tendies is like one of our best skills. And also Corpse Tendies is really fun to say. So taking your second and third can be either option. In hardcore, I like to take Blighted Corpse Tendies. Sorry, Nori, my bad. I keep saying Corpse Tendrils when I mean to say Corpse Tendies. Anyways, Corpse Tendies has a 30% chance to drop a blood orb when damaging enemies. This build is based around blood orbs, so getting more dead carpets out and just throwing out blood waves like crazy is going to be your best option for lots and lots of damage. But you can take the vulnerability for better vulnerability uptime. And if you're playing solo, you definitely need to take the vulnerability on Paranormal Sever. Anyways, so Blood Wave slows, fires 3 additional blood orbs and waves, and has many awesome things about it. And the knockback, it's just all great. It's so good in hardcore especially. You could switch this out later if you really wanted to, but you don't need to, because you don't really do crits. So Standalone and Memento Mori, and lastly Shadow Blight. Let's check out the Paragon real quick. Heading up to the first tree, I have control here, but to start off, you're most likely going to want to take, where is it? Where you at, Blood Drinker? Blood Drinker. Blood Drinker is one of our best defensive options, especially so early on in Paragon. Blood Orb's fortifying you for 7% of your health, and it adds like a shadow build. Like, you don't get this very often. So I think that this is really strong. Really strong. Then heading up next, you can move control here, take Abyssal here, you can move darkness here. You have a lot of options, but I like to end up with Abyssal here. Paragon nodes within range gain bonus to their non-physical damage and damage reduction modifiers. You're going to be taking a lot of different stuff here later on, shadow resistance and intelligence, and damage and shadow damage. So those will be both buffed by this glyph, this abyssal glyph, by a decent amount. Heading into the next tree, we are going for exploit, because like I say, bucket damage is incredibly important. And this tree, this flesh eater tree, is our highest dex option, which this is multiplicative by dex. So this is the only spot for exploit to truly shine. Real quick, my legendaries, because our legendary aspects are not super great with our trees. Wither is the first one. Flesh eater is the second. Third is blood begets blood. You can opt to skip, by the way. It's 15% damage at this juncture where you're like level 80 is like but also Scent of Death. Scent of Death is our last one. I think that you could probably swap this into a second slot because it is a defensive, and its 15% damage reduction is nothing to sneeze at, especially in hardcore. Our last glyph being Darkness is where I've switched this around. Now you could take a look at this. A lot of these options can be moved around. These trees can be flipped and skewed. This is just my idea of what I ideally want to see from the Paragon board. Now, some things that I have noticed since starting to play Diablo that I think that a lot of people should know, especially Necros that are taking Standalone and Memento Mori. When you're in town theory crafting your build and like moving stuff around, these do not activate. And I think that's, a lot of people don't know that yet. At least I did. And it was really frustrating because I made some adjustments to my build in a hardcore run and most likely died because of it. And it was incredibly frustrating that I theory crafted something in town and then wanted to put it in action, and these were not active. And I thought they were bugged. I thought they weren't working at all. And so I removed the points out of them and ended up taking 2 or 3 hits and then instantly exploding. But if you would like to see my rip clips, come over to Twitch, twitch.tv/DJ Montague. Thank you for being here. Hopefully this build can inspire something in you to create a DoT-based necromancer and enjoy just shredding mobs and mob packs. Friends, have a wonderful, wonderful day. Catch me on Twitch. Again, I will be live probably right after this. We've been streaming like 90 hours since Diablo release, so come by, hang out, chat with me. I like to talk to chat. So if you have any questions about blood builds or shadow builds or even pet builds, I've got a wealth of knowledge about it and I'd love to help you out. So friends, see you soon.